on February 21st, 2023.
I have, they look fine to me. Make a motion approved.
Okay.
Were you around just yet? Did with that?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a. Give me some, Jim. Okay, that's the match. Half of that will be 65. That's that change. That's not the process. I'll just do it from there. All right. Tell me what you have for the second. That's the last guy for the match. This project. First one is because this is one of the notes. That's the contract. Our local match is that. Yeah. So that's the split of the match. That's the total match. That's 50-50. How much is it? We already have a general say. We can't pick up $3,000 and make it $7,000. Freaking provisions for government bonds. Changing correct. It's like it's 5 years ago for 300. Is this the one that we both maintain it? Yes. It's on account. It's technical honors. I got it. Just have that like a. It's accounting. That's what we did. Gotcha. Okay. Yep. All right, so what do we have for us today? First, we have payroll claims in the amount of $365,091.40. $365,091.40. That's pretty typical. That's the increase in all. All right. I'll make motion. Second. Okay. Motion carries. Accept payroll claims. And the next thing I have is accounts payable. And that is $585,726.31, $585,726.31. You should have received that email on those. The biggest thing, the biggest part of this was the county insurance. Right. And that was $384, something like that. I did review this. I make a motion to approve. Okay. Second. Motion carries to approve the claims as presented. Okay. This pen. Where does this thing come from? Next, I have the Allied Weekly Health Insurance claims. It's in the amount of $92,105.60. $92,105.60, and of that, $55,391.76 is medical, $44,589.07 is pharmacy. You have credits from last week carried over in the amount of $78,75.23, which gives you a total of $92,105.60, and all that's on the second page there. You want to sign that? I don't think I just haven't signed it. Go ahead and sign that as soon as you approve it if you want. Okay, we're going to look at it here. I'll make a motion. Second. Just stand side by side. Motion carries to approve the claims as presented. I did pass out prior to the meeting the health insurance amounts that the treasurer's office had sent over. And if you look at that with the claim that you just approved, if you remove that, it takes it to $70,867.84. I got with Kathy this morning and asked her to move $200,000 over from checking, or over from reserve into checking. So after that, we should have $270,867.84 in the checking portion. And that's just in case we get big claims. I want to make sure we have enough in there to cover it. Okay. Put that in. And that is just FYI. The next thing I have is something that Bree, Shannon, and myself have discussed and looked at. It's a quote from Rao Associates. The reason it has to come before you all, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's over $2,500 for the initial cost. So if it reaches that threshold, we have to get approval from commissioners. That being said, we already have Dr. Livery, we already have Rao. This was just going to kind of bring us up, I guess, to the new century of technology. And it will attach the W-2s and the 1095s to Dr. Livery so that we are not handling the paper and the envelopes and purchasing those and the postage. So this will pay for itself. The first year cost is $36.65. We can fund that, we can pay for it. Annually after that, it'll be $665. 3 years in, is there anything, other than what I said, that you guys can add to that? Or did I say it really?
So, I'm half listening. So this is a,
You need to listen to me.
I'm sorry. So this is for us to do electronic W-2s and 1095. So right now we have to buy the forms, buy the envelopes, turn them by hand, pass them out by hand. So it would save us some time. And we estimate that after the implementation cost, it would be roughly the same cost of the paper product in our time each year. So it's actually not an increase necessarily to the county, but it's just a different version of producing those documents.
Or what's the postage cost?
And it's putting it back on the employees have to go out and pull theirs, and then if they lose their W-2s, instead of calling and we have to go pull, if somebody calls and says they need the last 2 years, they go out and get their own.
So that would keep historical W-2s.
It's the same kind as your pay stub.
Yeah.
So the same place you go get your they go get their pay stubs, they go to the same website and say January and get their W-2, and it would have their W-2s and their 10.
And yes, it would keep historical W-2s as long as they work here. So we're not, I don't think that we're able to upload old versions, but, from 2023 and onwards, it would keep those in there as long as the employee works here.
A lot of school systems do this currently. A lot of the private sector do this as well. It's just kind of both of my kids work at schools down in Indianapolis, and they get them this way. So, like I said, it's kind of just bringing this up. Okay. All right. What's your thoughts?
I think it makes sense to me. That's what I'm used to. That's where we're at today.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, thank you. Need anything signed on that? Or is it a place to, we can have, I'll stand sign it if you want. Yep. That actually is all that I have for that. And sign. So I'm gonna make a decision. Okay. Doug, Paul, Nate, we'll double check that, make sure you got the same one I. Okay. Before we get too far. Yeah, because of that. You had work to look the same. Thank you. Yes, all right, good.
Operations report. If you don't want to, Tony, you don't need the annual operations report.
Tony, well, yeah, Tony should have one.
Okay.
We can scan it.
Yeah, if Tony is the one, so you can. Yep. All right, so this is good morning, everybody. More like Steve again. The annual operations report we have to fill out. Becky prepares it and then it gets sent in once you guys okay it. So basically today I bring it and present it to you guys, give you a week to look at it. Take it under advisement. We come back next week then and see if you may approve it basically. This is something we do every year. Basically, it's all the receipts, dispersals and all, everything out of all of our accounts. So, some good reading there for you. So.
So you just need them to make a motion to take it under advisement?
Until next week, yep.
So move.
Second.
And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Okay.
I had to look at it and study it quite a while to
Thank you. Good.
The media. So Dave, did they make a motion, Tony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Paul handed out our monthly draw for February. The MVH for February, $284,894.48. $284,894.48.
And I know I've asked you this 100 times, is there anything else going through the house right now that's gonna affect
The only thing,
their distribution?
not the actual money amount. So there are a few bills I've been watching. One of them, again, they were talking about, it's a 50-50 split between the MVH and BH restricted. They were talking about doing it for a year, letting the counties do like a 60-40. So the 40 would go more towards all your road work and maintenance and all that. And the 60 would go towards everything else, the wages, equipment, and all that.
So the 40 would be towards the restricted side?
Yes, just for the fact that a lot of counties struggle with being able to update stuff, basically, but I don't think that one's gonna pass. The other thing, and we've talked about this a little bit before with electric vehicles coming out, they are looking ahead, basically at, I think there was something when you got your plates, you got a brake, and they're talking about taking that away and changing that somehow. Then the other interesting thing is, hopefully I can explain this correctly. I don't want to say the taxes are based on, the mileage you drive. I know I'm not going to say this right. Remember what I said, how that was explained?
The difference between the actual mile that you have and drivable.
Yeah, the actual miles in your county is how they distribute it, how you get your share of the money. They're actually talking about going to driven miles. So somehow somebody comes and drives through your county, I don't know how they're gonna do it. That is one thing, that's another bill they've been talking about. So that would be a big process change.
And that's a way to get more road money from electric vehicles?
Yeah, and I think it leads to that later because, they're gonna charge whoever drives however many miles in your county. Rather than just saying you've got this many road miles, like 660 or whatever, your share comes off that 660 where it's gonna be driven road miles. So basically, they would drive in the county, somehow they would figure that out to charge them for the driven road miles.
No, here's a stupid question.
And I'll try and answer.
This doesn't involve buggies in it.
No,
Okay,
the only one there is just through the buggy plates sales.
right.
So, yeah. So no, there are some bills I've been watching. I don't know, they've tried some of this before and I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but
How are they even gonna track that?
That's what I was gonna ask.
no clue.
They use one of those famous secret state formulas that nobody knows.
I have no clue. And that's a very good question. If somebody comes in from another state and drives through, I don't know.
Okay.
Yep. All right, on the other side, the local for February, $43,704.46. $43,704.46. So, I've done this for a few years now. I'm looking at the numbers. It's not quite as good as last year. It's better than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen anything drastic one way or the other yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, it's gas tax. We get a portion of the gas tax that's sold at the pumps. And then split it up by our mileage, and that's how we get this.
Okay. Any questions on that? Put the motion to accept it in the record.
So moved. Second.
So a few other things, just as a reminder, we kind of brought up, buggy plate sales will start tomorrow and go through May 15th. Our normal, it's right at, 2.5 months. And
What's the price of buggy plates?
it hasn't changed, it's still $120. It's been that way for 6 years.
So I'm asking, should that change? Let me just back this up a little bit. 000,
Mhm.
yesterday with all that rain,
Mhm.
it was dangerous because of the puddling of water and you could see right where the, what's our plans for 000 this year?
This year,
218 out to Amishville.
yeah, this year, we'd like to chip and seal it.
Chip and seal the buggy troughs.
We'll go and do the buggy troughs, but it's hard to do. I think I've explained that before. With our chip and seal, 1/2 inch chips, it's really hard to build up a real thick layer, but we will go in and put in a layer to help give it another extra, and then we'll come back and chip seal the whole thing.
So it's like a double coat.
That's, yeah, I'll get a double. So it'll help. Yeah, the only way you're ever gonna get rid of the horse troughs is pave. But that is on our future plans. Also, there again, can't give you a specific year, but in a few years. Because we paved down south 2 years ago, so we would like to pave the rest of it, within 2 to 3 years, but you're talking probably close to $1 million.
So on the buggy plates that haven't changed for 6 years, who changes that?
I believe you guys said that, is that right, Mark?
Commissioners.
Yeah. So if that's something to think about for next year,
Cost of everything, should we consider that for next year?
I mean, I'm not gonna say no.
Just something.
It's something to think about, because that'll have to be done before we get ready for next year, so.
When would we need to make that decision, do you know?
You can do it anytime, during the year by ordinance. You have to advertise and give notice of a change. Like we have a public hearing and then you adopt a new ordinance and then effective date on the ordinance.
How often do we have to buy a brand new plate and sticker?
So they just, okay, so like, plates are good for 3 years. So right now, this is our 3rd year, so they're getting new plates. And then the next 2 years, they'll buy just stickers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Same price whether it's a plate or sticker?
Yep. yeah.
That was instituted, that price went up when the wheel tax was instituted, because I remember a lot of hearings in different places. And yeah, that was interesting time. You remember, you were on council.
And
We had meetings down in Bowen.
and then if I understand correctly, you had to, was it implement the wheel tax to be able to get the buggy plates or get the buggy
Well, it
wheel
was,
tax?
yeah, the one was dependent on the other, right? They were separate.
Yeah.
We decided. The ones that were gonna have to pay the wheel tax,
I got you.
that way,
I got you. Yeah,
so rather,
yep.
Which I don't disagree with. I mean, I think
Yeah.
but let's have those discussions over the next year, because I know you put an analysis together, road money spent north of 124, south of 124, to kind of help us analyze.
Yeah,
some
so
of this
that's,
stuff.
did that to everybody.
So,
Yeah.
so let's have that discussion and over the next year and see what we need to do there. Okay. So we need to do that before the end of the year then, Mark?
Yeah.
I don't know what the advertising timelines are.
We'll have to look at it. I've got a whole file on it, so I'll probably have Clayton take a look at that. I can show you where that's at. So we've done it several times, but the last time was was basically at the same time that you did the wheel tax.
It's 17 or 18, somewhere around in there.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so a couple other things. Of course, again, Paul's been doing his homework, and we have 2 older dump trucks that were the pre-emissions, so there's no def on them. They still run good, the chassis are in good shape, the beds are wore out. They got rust holes in them and just, they're beyond repair. So Paul has done his homework, and the one company we deal with, actually, we can get beds from them through Sourcewell, which will help save us some money. And so 2 single axle dump trucks, they're 2002s. Like I said, those are old trucks, and we've talked before, getting the new ones, this is time consuming, it takes time if you can get them. So if we got good red ones that are still running good, we would like to put new beds on them. So 2 new beds at $22,360. Which is still under the bids quotes of the parent price, but that's for the parent. And it is through Sourcewell.
That includes mounting?
No, we'll do the money.
No, we got some, yes.
Okay.
Save us some money that way.
And those are, like I said, as we get new trucks, there's other trucks we've talked about before that we're getting rid of that give us more engine troubles. These don't give us engine troubles.
Yeah.
So that's why we'd like to do this, and if we get another 5 years out on that, that'd be awesome.
The frames and everything are good.
They are good, yes. So,
Those aren't real.
no,
No, we can still.
so we just would like to get your approval to proceed with that.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Then the second thing, you want to go ahead and,
The dirt loader, which we've been talking about the dirt loader for berming and what have you. What was it, 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks,
3 weeks ago, I found one that was on an auction site. It was 2 days before the end. It went for $90,000. So what I'm looking for is pre-approval for a certain amount where if I find one in an auction that I would be able to proceed with up to, we were discussing maybe 150,000.
the brand new one's pushing on 260, 275.
265, yeah.
You can find some really good used ones, 300-400 hours.
Yeah,
So
you're
right
right
there.
at 1,000. So, yeah. So we got several, I found several online, but they're just, they want more.
This is that dirt loader?
Yes.
That's the bottom, right?
Yes.
So I'm kind of asking for permission to allot us a budget of 150,000 to where if we'd see one, we'd have opportunity to jump on it before it would disappear if it would suit our needs and mechanically sound well.
Would you be able to interact with parts off the old one we have or not?
That's the problem with the old one is they don't make parts for it anymore.
The, what is ours?
And
Athey. So Athey in late 90s.
yeah, 98, I think.
So Leroy bought Athey out, so they started phasing out all the Athey parts. So even up to the mid to late 90s, parts are getting scarce.
How old did you say this?
Ours? Yeah.
I think it's a 68.
Okay. How old was this one that just went for 90?
It was a 2009?
2009.
I think it was a 2009. So,
What about, like,
So how did the bidding statute interact with all this, Mark?
So,
I guess if it's a public auction, it feels like one thing, but if it's off of a used dealer website, I question whether that would fit in the public bidding statute.
Yeah, that, is it, can you go on a public, can you find them on a public auction site?
we have found, that one was actually on a public auction site. I think it was Gov Deals auction.
If it's on public auction, then I think that satisfies our requirements to, have the quote.
But if it's not, if it's just a private dealer,
Right.
so we're gonna need that.
We're gonna need the quotes.
Yeah.
and so basically, and I'll just be honest, that's not gonna happen, because we're not gonna find 3 of them that's the same, close to the model, so yeah, but no, if we can get permission at least to do it at the auction for all of them. Because like you said, it's like, we saw it 2 days before, and it was a nice one.
Maybe if you could build a file with relatively current auction quotes, then maybe you could say, okay, this one's sold at public auction for 90,000. I have one very similar here, and I'm gonna pay 90,000 for it. Here's my support for the price. Maybe you could,
The more you document it, the better.
Yeah.
Just document that we're trying to get one that's at the best price we can get, and we're obviously looking for used, because we're gonna save considerable amount of money. It's a specialty piece of equipment. You're gonna try to buy that new and come up with specifications for something new, then like you said, you're gonna pay $270,000-300,000 minimum. So if you can find something just under 150 on a public auction site, then I would say document the file and then do it.
Keeping track of that, and then maybe that.
maybe begin to build a file. Here's what they're going for.
Yeah.
And here, I've got one here I can buy for in that neighborhood.
Yeah, because like like we said before, we're really kind of in uncharted territory on procurement these days.
Yeah, most part, you can.
And that's why we want to bring this to you guys now, because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go on for some time almost every day and look through all these auction sites trying to find them. And once in a while you'll be like, hey, that one wasn't there yesterday, but then tomorrow it's gone kind of thing. So it's kind of stuck.
Once you go down to the gas and steam engine trail.
Yeah, they never even sit the other down there.
Yeah.
It still runs.
Just nothing else works.
But maybe what you do is just approve the purchase for under 150 on a, public auction site, make sure you document, pricing and year, make, model, and what they went for.
Motion approved. Under 150,000, not including 150,000, or including 150,000.
Just under 100.
That's not gonna happen for us. Now we don't want to. Yeah, 150,000. And I guess we're leaving up to you guys' discretion, but we need to be able to justify. Yeah, look at some market price. Yes. That's my motion.
Last motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yep, that's, the one last thing, we made one short from Wells County's engineers here today to remember the interlocal bridge agreement that we were entering into community crossings project for them. We're gonna pay our share of the 25% to do the project, and they just have some updates on that, so.
Yep, just wanted to come talk to you, make sure that we were in good shape on that project. The county has entered into an agreement with Judy Excavating out of Fort Covey, Ohio. So I know you've worked with Dan Judy. I told him on my way over here, asking him what his status was. But over he's certainly sheepish about going out there and trying to start that project right now. But JJ's Concrete is the concrete supplier for the precast elements. It's going to be a 3-sided concrete box. There's bedrock in that area, so it's going to be seeded into the bedrock there. It is a gravel road around the county line. We've had discussions before about doing a cost share in a local agreement because it's not a reimbursement program with community crossings. We need to kind of have our money sitting in the account before they start. Certainly, you're a good company because NDOT hasn't given us their match agreement yet either. So I filed everything with the state, so they're just behind in even giving us our share of that match. But I wanted to make sure that we were in shape to have your 50% of that. Just so you're aware, I'm not sure if it's in the record right now. I think we've had some correspondence before. The low bid on the project was $527,251.78. The 25% local match is $131,812.95. But the 50% of that then would be for $65,906.47. So there's
I
not a
have something that says come out of the Cume Bridge.
Yes, that would be an eligible Cume Bridge expense. So I'm not sure if you need to do appropriations before I just send an invoice over. Maybe I did already send an invoice. We need to make sure that that's an appropriate interlocal agreement to kind of justify the pass through.
So our Cume Bridge fund is at 1.809.
We're good.
And so we're good as far as having the capital to put towards our side of the match, I think.
So we just need to have an interlocal agreement, it sounds like, that just says between the two parties, this is the agreement and this is the amount of money. We're holding the contract with both NDOT and the contractor, so essentially we're the party at risk. Essentially, we're just giving a cost share towards this project. We've discussed it before. It's a justifiable project. Certainly there's ones I'd love to see you do in the Adams County side, because this doesn't necessarily help some other bridges. There's a handful of bridge you have that needs to be.
So basically, by doing this project up toward the head of it, the water is going to be able to flow better down. So there are at least one that we need to address in Adams County.
I forget, what's the north-south road, I forget.
North-south road, it's 800 east, it's 700 west.
County
Your
line.
county line, and it's just north of 900 south. So I'm currently trying to bridge replacement requested to the state for community crossings for the upstream bridge of that.
So you guys are using community crossings money, but we're gonna be using, Cume Bridge.
Our match will come from our lit roads and bridges, so they're using lit.
In our Cume Bridge, we've got monies actually appropriated in Cume Bridge, or do we have to advertise and appropriate? That's what we'd have to.
Yeah, we're probably, if we have to appropriate it just for that, we'll have to advertise it.
Brad, is that just check the domestic?
See,
Yes.
Right there on the county line road?
Yep.
Okay, that little bridge,
Yeah, that's actually, it's a big pipe.
is that what that is?
It's a 16-foot pipe, but it's at such an angle, it's classified as a bridge.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
runs it up.
yeah.
It's a 16-foot diameter pipe that is fed from a 21-foot span bridge. So you can kind of figure out how that math doesn't work. It certainly catches a lot of corn stalks and debris there. I need to replace the bridge just east of Domestic, and my concern is that that's going to get to be about a 32-foot span. I'm going to open that up, and if I don't replace the bridge here at the county line, I'm concerned that I may wash that road out in a flood. So we're starting with this bridge first, and then we'll work on the other bridge that's in dire need of repair. So hopefully I can do that one late this year or early next year if we're awarded.
what we wanna do is get a claim form, for you with the right claim number, I don't know, Bree, and then we can have them, we'll get the claim form prepared so the commissioners can approve, and then they can sign the interlocal agreement at the same time they approve the claim.
Or it may start as early as the end of March. Right now, it's just kind of weather dependent and what Judy's availability is. I do have in the agreement liquidated damages as far as the completion. They're supposed to be complete in May. So we're looking for substantial completion late April, early May, and then having final completion by the end of May. So they'll have to show cause as to why he wants the delay, but I don't think the recast is the real reason right now. So
No, and there's just, Nate had planned this as do this earlier, but there again with the supply issues, it's kind of pushed them back, so.
we were hoping, I've been told we'd start as early as mid-December, and here we are at the end of February. So just sort of works out that way. But the schedule.
Does this stuff to go to council then for?
Well, maybe not, but I'll find out with Bree, but, I mean, we need to approve the claim and interlocal agreement, but if the money hasn't been appropriated yet, then we may have to get it appropriated.
It's not extra money, it's
No,
already in there, it just needs to be appropriated, so it should be fine.
But we generally appropriate money out of Cume Bridge each year for planned projects, and so we may have enough already appropriated.
Yeah.
That's just what that's what we have to check.
Whether it's a transfer or appropriation, it's all sitting in your Cume Bridge. It's just what the label is on top of that.
Yeah, so we can bring that back probably next week, the interlocal and the claim form, and in the meantime, check and see if it's appropriated.
Yeah.
So if we have that interlocal next week, we can approve that with a motion and then send it to council.
Yes, yeah. You can approve the interlocal agreements contingent upon county council's appropriation of the funds and.
And we've got a draft of the appropriation. I have a commissioner meeting, Wells County Commissioners will be March 6th, so next Monday. So if I had a draft, we could theoretically present that to them, then it could be ready for you on
See, we can,
March 7th, and then it could be ready for.
That'd be great.
council after that.
We'll see if we can do that.
Next week, just.
I'm gonna be out, next week, but Clayton could come over here next Tuesday probably and present that,
You know,
get it approved.
break him in, all right.
ground running. Good.
So we'll get that done and sent out to you yet this week. That way, you say your meeting's Monday?
Yes.
Okay,
So
so that way they
I'll let the auditor know so she can put that on the agenda.
Yeah, get it on the agenda.
So do we need to come to your meeting?
I'll present it. Essentially, since it's kind of one-sided leaning towards us, it was just a conversation that I had. Brad was willing to work with us, is try to expedite this sort of a project because it's mutually beneficial to try to get this done. So you've been very good to Wells County as partnering on county projects in the past. And so by leveraging state money and both counties' money, it's actually replacing a bridge with essentially what's going to come down to $66,000 between the two counties each. That's a fantastic deal. We should be doing those sort of grant projects all the time.
It's better than federal aid.
That's better than federal aid. My first federal aid project I got awarded won't be done probably now till 24. I got it before my daughter went into high school. She might be out of college by the time I build it. So, so it's, you better have a long time frame.
On the county line, bridges, it's, and I can't remember, but don't we take care of roughly half of our county line and you take care of
Not,
the
not,
other half? Or do we do 100%?
yeah, we do,
And then,
the south and east. And that's across the whole state, it follows that, south and east. But what happens, so Wells County actually takes care of that, but when, on our Ohio side, that's split up, that's.
I thought that was
That's,
actually.
yeah, that's interesting.
No, this isn't certainly required. It is a Wells County bridge, but
But we
because
work together,
so we've got a relationship.
so.
Yeah, just north of Adams. It's the
There's one, there's a culvert there, and then there's a bridge there also.
Yeah, and actually the one looks like a bridge that's north of there technically isn't a bridge. It's actually too small to be a bridge, so it doesn't classify as one. It's less than 20 feet. But that's the one that gets, there's a 70-foot wide three-span bridge that's in domestic that feeds into that knot bridge north of where we're at. So I can't explain the hydraulics of how every bridge downstream gets smaller out of domestic until it gets into Adams County. And then it's just a series of pipes in Adams County, but hopefully we can change that. So, well, we'll make it better as we work on these, but,
Interesting.
yeah.
That has something to do with the Venturi effect.
No, I'm sure. Some fancy engineering term as to why they did that, probably money, might be the one.
Do you read these, because these are the actual construction agreements?
That's just the print of it. So that's so you've got exactly the agreement that we have with Judy, so you can see kind of the boilerplate of the funds of it. If we go over budget, I'm certainly not going to come back here and ask for half of a change order. I'm not even bothered with something like that. This is simply just a partnership between Brad and I on this bridge. It makes sense. If we were trying to do 100% of this, I hate to see the inflation on these because I did a similar project on an asphalt road for like $380,000 4 years ago. To do something like this and be over 500, it's just the cost of construction. Had not seen it. You've seen about 40% inflation rate in about 18 months. So hopefully this starts to calm down because it's just not tenable for everybody.
And real quick, it's interesting because, you know, we've done our community crossings, the overlay paving. Those projects are coming in under, all the bridge projects are not. They're going up.
Thankfully, asphalt price spiked early last year, so all the estimating software that I've seen and estimates from construction or design engineers, they were spiking it and anticipating another 15% spike. Asphalt actually has come down, and so the raw materials are coming down, and they're expecting that to, it's given me indication that they're expecting a bit of a recession, pull back on the private side for asphalt. Concrete, precast, there was such a bottleneck that there's a lot of materials ordered that have not been fulfilled on contracts. The cement shortage was much later than the asphalt shortage, so we're not seeing the cement kind of line back, drop back down. So I'm hoping to see some of that drop, but the labor rates, I don't see those coming down until there's mass layoffs to try to reset the labor numbers. So in reality, I don't expect that to ever come back to where it was. It's not going to return to mean.
All right,
So anyhow, thank you.
very good. So we'll have something ready for them next week, and we'll have something ready for us on Tuesday. And
Yep.
so
Thank you.
we'll go from there. Yep.
Good day.
All right. Okay, Rick, did you have anything for us?
Hello, guys. Steve, 2 weeks ago, I got approval to purchase the generator for here and the transfer switch for the complex. And in that, we kind of decided that we kind of needed the enclosure, but the enclosure, which is a silencer on the generator, because if we run it, try to help the noise for them.
That kind of noise.
It ran benchmark by $315. by putting that enclosure in there. So I get approval to purchase it, to leave the enclosure off. And that's what I did. When I left that meeting, I called Everpar and told them, I was pretty certain that enclosure had to be on there when they manufactured the generator. And it did. So I said, look, here's where we're over. And it needs to be under $150,000. They complied and did that. So, what I'm doing today is I am giving you guys a new price for the generator and enclosure already on the generator. That's one of the things that we agreed about, that we thought that was a must to have that enclosure on that generator.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good, so they did a whole new vote on that?
Yes.
Good. And got it down under there. But that was simplified.
If you remember then last week, Mark wasn't here. The question was, did it need to be, was the benchmark 150 or under 150, or how we wanted to fund it? So what I did is, I made another phone call. I gotta have it on 150 just to make sure. And that's what's happening.
All right.
Okay. If you look, it's on the back page, and I can read that number.
Thank you.
Mark, you have two sticking. Would you like me to present the last proposal, the number for that, and we can go to that? What you had approved.
Well, there's nothing different on the proposal though, right?
There's nothing different.
I mean, yeah.
The only thing that is different on the proposal that you have is the enclosures on it, price for it.
Okay.
And the enclosure, we were already aware of the enclosure, we just didn't include it, we thought we could include it later
That's correct.
versus including it in the original proposal that we accepted, which was the low bid.
That's correct.
And that was the 149,995.
Yes.
That includes the
That
enclosure.
included the enclosure, what you have right now.
But this is what they approved.
Yeah, that's what they agreed.
They agreed to 141,000
Yeah.
without the silencer, without the enclosure. But when Rick contacted them, they said, no, that has to come with it when we do it. And he said, we have an issue, we need to be under 150,000. That is the new quote. Overall quote.
That's correct. The old quote was for $131,815. That's without the enclosure. The new one that you have in front of you with the enclosure is for $149,995.
So we just need a motion to accept this quote.
Yeah,
That's
basically you're throwing the other one out and accepting this one with the enclosure.
And the date on this quote is 2/21/2023. So any questions on that? Nope. Good.
So I'll make a motion that we accept this without.
Second. To accept the new bid, in.
I understand what he got. Except the new quote is a replacement for the prior.
Okay.
Well,
Stan, I will need that some,
okay,
one of them anyway.
can we sign that copy?
If you would, please, I can get you another one for you.
Second that, right?
Yep.
Find mine also, so I can have a copy. Keep it up there too. That'll be part of our, so sign that one, I'll take that back to Brooke, so we got one. Sign there, too, Stan, what you're signing. A copy from Mark, a copy from me, and a copy from Rick.
Well, I appreciate them working with us on that. Appreciate you kind of taking that back to them.
I am, myself and Gene Blakey with us. We're meeting tomorrow with Everport just to go over some specs. When we get ready to, we're gonna start bringing in some contractors to get some quotes on hooking it up and getting it set. So we're doing that tomorrow.
It's interesting, shipment 50 to 56 weeks after receipt.
Yeah.
So they're still having,
The last time was about 40. So we're looking at December, January. I don't think you were here, Steve. They're willing to keep it up there, no charge. Insured in their warehouse, behind their fence, whatever, until we're ready for it. Be nice if we are ready.
Does the new roof have to be on before that can go up there?
No. This
Should
generator,
that go up before the new roof's on?
it can go up before. This here won't have anything to do with like those chillers.
Oh, it won't. Okay.
And sometime whenever you guys would have time, it's up to you. I'd love to take you around and show you different things that are going on around here, just so you can see where we're at, what's going on, and what the idea is. Whenever you guys have time.
I think that'd be great if everybody could see where we've been looking at downstairs, what you're looking at up there. I think that would be good.
We just put that on the calendar so we make that
Yeah,
happen.
can we? I'm open anytime you guys tomorrow.
Meeting.
I think I'm gonna attend that meeting remotely.
Oh, okay.
I'm at the bank tomorrow. I was thinking maybe next commissioners meeting, next week, next Tuesday. What's your next Tuesday look like? We got drainage board at 9.
I believe it's,
We'll make it work.
Okay.
it's Tuesday? About before or after the commission?
Probably after commissioners. And you take us out to lunch.
A little one count.
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
Good. All right, so next Tuesday, very good. I just received an invoice. This had been approved. This is in room 125. And it's kind of going under the WebEx project. The wall that was built in there, I just received that invoice and I would like to have approval to pay it. And that invoice is $4,800. And I was instructed, or whatever, however you guys want to do this, in the change committee, take it out of the WebEx project
For the power.
for the power room. No, this is for courtroom 125.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not really for the power.
It's not for the power. It's just, it's for everything going on in that room. The invoice is the same as what the quote was.
And the issue we have is that the WebEx project itself has hit its budget. And so we don't have any money left in the WebEx project itself.
Well, we haven't gotten all the invoices in,
Okay.
so it hasn't hit yet. But with the invoices that we anticipate coming in, well, I'm pretty sure it'll be over. I think we sent you the initial quote on the ARPA request, and that quote was $315,127. The ARPA request was for $315,000, so we're already going to be short, and now we have additional, and the quote was from the vendor, from CBTS, so
Technology vendor.
yeah. So at some point, and I think this discussion was held last week, we kind of discussed this in the committee meeting, that at some point, sooner rather than later, they're going to have to come before the council when we figure out approximately how much extra they're going to need and present their case to get additional funding, or we'll have to figure out where else to pay that overage.
He's exactly right.
For WebEx.
For WebEx.
For WebEx.
Okay.
I'm not saying that won't happen with everything fast, but right now, we're discussing the WebEx, so.
Well, like the WebEx project was originally approved for $215,000. So we currently have unspent in that balance of that particular project, 208,374.70.
And we haven't got the invoice on the screens that are in 125, so.
It's not.
There's probably other invoices we haven't received, I don't know what the cost on those is going to be, so.
No idea.
Bree has a,
Any invoice for that 315.
so Bree has sent you all the spreadsheet on all of the ARPA, so that you all can look at that and kind of see where we're at. And we're in a position in our office that when we receive a claim and it says ARPA, WebEx, Bree's keeping track on that spreadsheet of what we are spending on those invoices so that, you know, the problem could arise if we get to, let's say we have spent $300,000 and then we get another invoice for $25,000, that right there puts you over. And when they're gonna come in.
We'll have to, I appreciate putting that spreadsheet together because that really makes it nice for us to be able to see what the accounts are and what's been spent out of there and to track ARPA so that, so we'll have to, you know, watch that real close and anticipate and, you know, see what we're gonna plan to do to take the financials on that project if we need to do continuing resolution from ARPA, if we need to look at a different fund, but to be able to track it like this is.
I think what, the quotes that were approved for ARPA, with the resolution, that's all that should be paid from ARPA. Unless you guys want to make these other purchases, then come and ask, like.
That would be
you
another,
approved a quote to go with a resolution, but then you're not even paying for that, you're paying for others, so it's like you're paying stuff out of it that you think that nobody got approval for. And that's where we're gonna run short, and it's not just this project, it's.
Well, remember, we need to take a look at those invoices that have come in and just see what we need to do.
and not be something that Mark and Julie Marie will need to go over possibly with us.
And not just to see how, but the specifics.
Legally has to be done to make sure that we're not aware of operating facilities. So might mean another resolution, it might be, I don't know, that'd be up to Mark and Julie Marie to give us some guidance on that.
Yeah, I'll take a look at what you sent me, Bree, and get with Joe and Marie.
But the matter for you now is the 4,000, whatever.
This is what we owe for that, whatever fund that you, I mean, you're exactly right. This is probably chipping away, these are chipping away at that WebEx fund. And I believe there is money in that fund right now, but you haven't got the bill for the equipment, this last phase, I think, and so, right? And I could possibly put it over, but there is money in this fund right now.
I mean, the other thing we can do, unless we want to approve this out of a different fund.
Yeah, unless you want to do that.
And this work has already been complete, right? The vendor's already completed. the work.
It's been done. I just got the invoice.
So we have the bill, we just have to figure out where it's coming out of.
Yeah.
Because we've got line item 4260 for, out of the commissioner's budget for equipment. That would not be.
And if you remember, Steve, there is one more project underway in that same area that was enclosing in that doorway.
Yeah.
That is enclosed and it's not completed yet. It needs to be mudded and and painted and things, but that's the only other bill that I'll have coming from this. But there is other things that needed to be done in there, or they wanted to.
I guess at this point, what I would say is let's not commit to any more work there
Yeah, there's nothing.
until we figure out where the funding is coming from. If we know that this WebEx project is running over budget, we're gonna have to find funding from somewhere to cover the balance of the WebEx project.
There is nothing else approved for the WebEx project, and there is nothing else going on in the power room at this time.
I guess the disappointment I have is that the WebEx project still doesn't allow us to connect to state of Indiana for video conferencing. I think there's some shortfalls there that I understand from Ethan that there may be some kind of a fix for that. And I know that's not your area of expertise, but just in speaking about that project in total, it's disappointing that it's number one, gonna run over budget, and number two, that in my opinion, it doesn't address completely the needs, the conferencing needs that we have as a county. We're gonna spend over $300,000, and I'm disappointed with the project. So I'm gonna be a hard sell on investing more money in the project. Now, that's just my platform speech, but, so we need to figure out where to pay this bill from today, but I'm going to struggle committing any more funds to that project until I understand how we're going to be able to connect to the state approved video conferencing technology that they just adopted standardized, and the other technology that's available out there in broad use in the world today. We're limited to WebEx, and I know WebEx, from the internal perspective, works just fine. And I don't think I have a problem with the WebEx technology, but the fact is the state of Indiana just agreed to standardize on Microsoft Teams as a deliverer of web technology, video conferencing technology, and this technology can't connect to Teams, which flatly upsets me. But I'm okay with it. Do you think we have money in the power room budget to pay this bill out of?
Well,
We're just kicking the can down the road. We're gonna have another project that's gonna be over budget.
because you're gonna wind up, in my thought process, you just approved almost $150,000 out of the generator power room.
Right.
If you look what's allotted for that, that's another scenario that is like the WebEx. There's been things done in that room, doorways in there that would cut in, the wall's been in there, there's been walls tore out of there, and it's not completed. But I will say this, you're gonna probably run into the same thing that you're running into right now with the generator project because of the power. But in foresight of this was back in 2020, 2019, when this was all sought out. At that time, to help overlap some of this cost, 1140 was a fund that we no longer have access to. Council had taken that away a couple of years ago.
Okay.
That was a fund, anything that goes on with the buildings, it's permanent fixture and making it better would come out of that fund. We don't have, I guess, access to that just to come in here and get approval of it, unless we would have access to it to go to council now, approval of it.
Did I understand, Stan, that we have a line in the commissioner's budget that's for building maintenance and equipment?
Actually, at 1138 King Cap, we have a line for service complex repairs and maintenance.
Okay.
And that currently has $55,781. So that's some money when we zero that 1140, we move some money into 1138.
Is it a vision for that line item for the rest of the year? What do you think right there?
That may be things like, let me use that may be things that that break down, you gotta use that money for.
But see, when there's still money, like you said, there's still money in 1140. They're just zero for budget purposes, they'd zero out 1140.
Right.
We could spend out of it. Yeah, but they'll zero it out because council wants to track it. So yes, there's still like over $300,000 in 1140. It's just not budgeted. So.
And I don't necessarily think they wanted to use that money.
Yeah.
But that's what it was used for. I say we had to put a new heating system over at the courthouse. It would be taken, previous would be taken out of that.
Yeah. So.
Well, my thinking, Stan, would be let's take it out of Commissioner's building line item versus taking it out of the generator budget. On the budget, we already know is going to be over budget. Let's not add insult to injury there by adding more to that problem line item. Let's take it out of our building repairs and maintenance and.
Stan, are you talking about the equipment line item?
Well, that is the only one that's in the commissioner's budget, to the closest thing. But as far as 1130 resident, that is, the one I was looking at was, equipment, 34006.
So in commissioners, you have account 42601, which is equipment.
Correct.
There's 160 in there. But did you guys have a plan for that this year?
That's not where the elevator's coming out of, is it?
The elevator's gonna come out of our.
That's going to come out of our.
But I thought that there was 160 in there for something for the surveyor, like.
Truck purchase or something.
I'd have to go back and see what's in the notes.
The note say it was for a new surveyor's truck. I just looked at that yesterday.
Okay, so we need to stay away from,
And I guess if you consider a wall equipment.
Yeah, it's a stretch, isn't it?
yeah.
You got cum cap. If you got money appropriated in cum cap, that's used for.
That's why I say in Cuban Cap, we've got service complex repairs and maintenance, 34006. So.
And we've always used cum cap for building improvements.
Okay. And with building that well, that's to provide for the additional employee and to complete the training room so that employee can operate that as a training room for employees, so.
So that would be my thought, is take it out of that cube cap building improvement fund
34006.
versus the
So you want me to pay that
generator
out?
fund.
1138, 34006.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there will be, I don't have that in front of me, there'll be another $1,500, I believe it is, somewhere in that frame to fill in that doorway.
Okay.
But there is nothing else approved it.
I'd say plan to take both of those out of that same line item.
What's the amount again?
$4,800. 34006, 1138.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion carried. I guess to speak to WebEx concerns, that would be interesting, like next week, if we can get together, if we can look at, because I know Ian uses WebEx, the public defender uses WebEx, the prosecutor uses WebEx, the courts use WebEx. And the only thing that's keeping us from integrating seamlessly with Teams is just a licensing issue. So if we could put that licensing issue, but I know, as I've said through JRAC, every one of those departments just expounds on how that has helped them, especially with Superior Court, it's helped them.
And I think the video conferencing as a whole is great. The problem we have is that the equipment that we have, being Cisco equipment, is proprietary WebEx equipment. That makes it really difficult to interface with these other video conferencing technologies like Teams and Zoom to the point where I know some entities have actually gone away from the Cisco technology, and they can still do WebEx on it, but it's not proprietary technology.
Right.
So I think that's maybe the really, in my opinion, the struggle we have is we have proprietary technology that we want to use outside of their sphere of influence, the WebEx technology, just like the problem we had when we were trying to do a Teams meeting in here the other day, and we ended up doing a video and staying here with all this equipment, we couldn't use any of it.
Yeah, it's not really, part of the difference comes in, if we initiate the meeting, it's very easy for other people to jump on.
That's true, but we don't initiate a meeting with the state of Indiana, they'll initiate that meeting.
Well,
We can kick it on, but we can't.
that's not true. I have, in a meeting that we had with Ira, I initiated the meeting on WebEx, and we had probably 15, 16 people on there.
But if we aren't the only consumer of that meeting information, they will subscribe to our,
But to say that we don't have the technology to integrate with the state or everybody else is not true. We do. And as far as Zoom was something that was more, not industry-wide as much as individual-wide, but Teams, that's become more of a statewide new system. So if we want to more seamlessly integrate with Teams, we need to pursue that licensing. But it's not like we can't do that. I mean, we have state-of-the-art equipment, and we've invested heavily in all these other offices that are using it. So I think, you know, you talk to anybody in our judicial system that uses WebEx, and they love it, and they use it constantly. So to say that it's not usable, you know, is just not true. So can we increase the ability to integrate? Yes, we can. But, you know, I think we've got equipment that is consistent throughout all of our departments, and easily, the usability is still extremely high. So if you talk to Judge Conrad or Judge Kuplan or anybody else in the judicial system, I think you'll find that. So anyway, I think it's an extremely valuable investment that we've made. So.
I do, few more things. The, Saturday, the power was out here in Decatur, and was also out here. What had happened during that power outage was the auxiliary battery pack that controls the fire doors, closing, keeping them open or closed, went bad. So yesterday, I contacted Gene Blakey, which B Secures, who oversees that for us. We put some new batteries in the battery pack. Well, by the end of the day, those batteries went down because that auxiliary pack is bad. I don't know the cost of that. Gene ordered it, we should have it today, but we gotta have it. So hopefully that'll be fixed today.
Is that one of the UPSs?
No,
No.
it's a totally different box that controls, those fire doors. For whatever reason, I don't know, it just zapped our auxiliary box when that power went out. I'm sorry, I don't have a quote. I did go in, so we gotta get it. So hopefully
But the generator worked fine?
Yeah.
Good.
it did. The one we have,
Power outage is what caused that.
I don't know what went on.
Lots of times, it's not necessarily the power goes out, it's when it comes back on
That's when
that
it comes
causes
back.
that.
Causes that
surge.
surge. I don't know what, the power was out for quite some time. Saturday.
What do we have that's not functioning properly right now? Do you know, would it just be, everything's okay right now, but if we're going to go to power outage, we have issues, right?
Yeah.
So,
What the problem is now, the fire doors want to stay shut. So I have propped them. I don't like doing that, but they are. And then when he gets it fixed, the alarm, everything's okay. It's just that those doors want to stay shut.
Okay.
So you would be locked out from going up and down the halls.
Okay.
We're not locked out. The doors are shut.
Right.
So,
Well, see what you hear from Jen and,
yeah, well, hopefully that's fixed today. Hopefully it is in here today and we'll get it fixed and I'll find out.
okay.
One more thing, maybe we can do this. It's kind of been, like maybe Steve, you were gone, kind of harped on this a little bit, maybe. The roof. We've got some downpours here. We do got some leaks. Maybe next Tuesday would be a great time we could kind of talk about.
Good.
Like quotes.
Very good. Yeah, because we need to get that decided a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need to get that decided, so.
I mean,
If we can get that on the agenda for next, we're running a little behind today, but.
okay. I do have one more thing. Shelley from the clerk's office. Present.
You have to do me twice today.
Sorry, it's small.
Oh, you're fine. Well, kind of like, oh, do I have the money? This was for getting a quote for our wall, or for our counter, to build up a wall for more security. We just feel like we're sitting ducks, in our open office area. So this has always been a plan for this office to build up a counter, like a wall on a counter, if you can visualize where that's at. So I went ahead and got an estimate from Miguel Suarez. He's excellent. And I went to the change committee meeting to get their ideas and kind of approval as well. And they recommend as well. The quote that Miguel gave me was $6,541.24. Now, part of that, and this is what I told the committee, I can use incentive funds that comes from the, federal government but it has to be in the month that it is paid. So when I went ahead and got with he's my Maximus representative for the child support, that he said, well, January, if I would have had this done, it would have been $1,000 would have covered on that bill. So I have to do it during the month to get their incentive, to apply towards that. But as far as I'll let Rick go with where I can actually get the remaining.
So she's not gonna really know what that is until that happens, how much money that she could get from that. But the total bill again is
$6,541.
it could be maybe $1,000, maybe more, maybe less. In the change committee, we talked about it and discussed it. I don't know if you got the gist, kind of look at your stand here. When you walk into the clerk's office, it's open just like this is. They're wanting to build it higher and kind of like the bank, correct me if I'm wrong.
Like service windows
Yes.
through the.
Yes. So they will not go all the way to the ceiling, but it's going to be higher. In talking to that, trying to find more funds for it. If approval, we'd like to pay it out of 34007. 1138, 4007. Whatever that amount may be, but not exceed $6,000.
Is this part of the overall security that at one of the meetings, the safety committee was going to meet and go over it, overall security for the whole county and so forth? Reason I ask, I can imagine the treasurer's office if they're the same way, when those tax bills go out, there's upset people. So I didn't know how that fit into the overall security plan. Steve, I think you had brought up, when they went throughout the board, you had said something about an overall security plan to just be part of that, or were they going to be separate things, or?
With that, there was a meeting that was conducted over at the courthouse. It was in the prosecuting attorney's office. We were all there. I believe at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, the clerk's office wasn't able to attend it because of some training. But I think you may have issued a list, kind of a wish list that was discussed in there. I don't know if that was on there or not.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So it wasn't. Could this be part of that? Well, the problem there was who would fund this type of what they want here? Does that fall under the ramifications of that? I don't
I
know.
think that's kind of why I'm asking on behalf of our office, just if Ed
comes in, hey, I also want walls. And other officers start doing that.
Not to interrupt you, but I would have done this even before safety committee would have been established, just for the bare fact that when I sat there in that front, I felt vulnerable. And that is a situation that I always thought the clerk's office should have. We do not have a really good security in that courthouse that they can come in, you know, and we do get all kinds that do.
Are the metal detectors being utilized or?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I guess as far as this wall, this would not interfere with any other plans that would be recommended by Mike Botock, because you had him come in and talk about
That's
it.
correct.
So he's gonna have recommendations on panic buttons, on security cameras, on those,
Yeah.
and monitors and
Those
those
things
things.
were discussed.
So this wall that we're proposing would not interfere with any of those other things. I wouldn't think anyway.
No.
So,
Okay, I just didn't know if eventually commissioners and council decided to pay for the security overhaul out of our building. If they approve this out of something different, that would be a part of the ARPA and all of that. I'm just kind of laying it out there to.
and you've got 34,007 that we're proposing,
Yes.
and we've got $50,478 in there. In that,
What is that?
that is a courthouse repairs and maintenance. So to me, that seems like it would be appropriate. And, you know, like Tony says, to go along with a more complete security plan, this is nothing that's going to interfere with a more complete security plan. In my mind, so I don't know what you guys are thinking or what your thoughts are. But I don't know that if you've got, Miguel would like to get Miguel to do the work, he's been very responsive and complete.
I have one question. Why aren't the metal detectors working?
I can't speak for the sheriff, and I don't know that they're not.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know that. I know that
In Calgary, the court security, it sounds like they don't have, the sheriff does not have a policy for that.
yeah,
That's what I've heard too.
I think you're right. They don't,
That's not,
yeah.
official.
So I don't think maybe you're right, Stan. It's not that they don't work. They just don't have a policy to implement it yet. They need that policy.
Right. So that would come from the sheriff.
You know, I need to talk to the sheriff about it. So are we talking the metal detectors upstairs?
Or both of them.
On the main floor, there's one
Or
there.
the east entrance?
It is on the west side.
West entrance.
Well, it's kind of in the middle the last time I
They
saw
have it
it.
right by the security guard, guard in front of here, right by
Yeah.
there. So,
But that's a sheriff answer.
I know.
There's one of our ARPA requests, so I'm not sure what.
But that's still under a policy. He needs to get a.
Yes, I think, you know, we need to talk to the sheriff and make sure and get a policy, so. Because they're there and they're turned on and they're working, so.
So my question on this today, if they approve this, well, if the incentive funds can pay up to 1,000 or whatever it is, how are we going to make a motion, or are you going to make a emergency motion? We make a emergency motion, or would it be waiting until the month that you do it, or?
Would do the 60, what the quote is?
Yeah, make a motion to move forward with that project not to exceed
6,500?
6,500.
Well, how about if we get
1,000 back, then what do we do with that?
Well, we just go, it would have to go back, it would increase the invoice. It would, so then we would pay 5,500 of that.
Right.
So I guess if you say pay up to,
Yeah.
and then when the invoice comes in, if they get 1,000 towards it, or whatever,
Less than that, assuming they have some complementary funding from those source.
I mean, Bree, can you answer that, how we will do that? If they approve up to 65,4124, and then at some point the incentive funds pay 1,000 of that, how are we going to do that with the invoices?
Honestly, could we have like a little time to investigate this further? Because I feel like there's another fund that could possibly pay for it.
When was you going to this time?
I was gonna ask Mabel the first week of June,
So we have
So maybe this time, we can investigate it and then come back and whenever, okay.
Great.
So we can just take it under advisement and not make a motion and continue to work on it. So I think we have another fund and we can bring that up too.
I think that as far as the commissioners, I think we're okay with the work being done.
There's a county service fund that 4D money goes into, and it doesn't get used because it's like so strict for what it can be used on. I think the prosecutor's office maybe used it a couple of years ago for some stuff.
That's the incentive that I was, because I asked Matt from Maximus what I
So
could
you
use.
can only use 1,000 of them?
Well, he said what the month would be, what we would have. So whatever, how many cases I have at that month is a percentage that can be applied. And what I did, he did for, say if I would have had this for January, it would have been 1,000. That would have been, be able to be applied to this.
And we work with Max as well, so
But.
if it's still due, we have time to
There's
investigate.
like two, I mean, there's
Yeah.
over 200,000 in there that just sits there. So I don't understand why we can't use the cash balance compared to just what you're
Yeah,
doing.
we'll have to ask Matt that.
And it's federal government. It's fine.
You know, that amount might get goes to.
I went ahead and scheduled them. I went and did that in first week of June and, okay.
Okay. So,
All right, thank you.
great, thanks, Sharon. Maybe we can twist Matt's arm as
Yeah, please.
We'll plan on getting a tour then next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Ed, do you have anything for us?
But it should be relatively quick. I did have a couple things just listening to the conversation here this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. We want you to know that I'm scheduling personal visits with the 4 Adams County banks we're working with in preparation of the upcoming spring tax collections. Everything's in good shape in the office. Everything's right on schedule. But I do want to personally talk with all the bankers just to let them know they collect overall about 40% of the taxes. And the remaining is either online or by phone, by mail or in person. But they collect a big bunch, and I like to keep good relationships with all of the 4 banks we work with. Interest rates always get brought up when we have those discussions. So, and as you know, I like to keep on top of all that. And so everybody wants to stay compatible with everybody else, and they're all in competition for our money, and so we try to spread it out appropriately. Tax statements, we're still waiting for everything between State Board of Accounts and the auditor's office with the things that they have to do yet, but we're still on schedule to mail them Friday, April the 7th, and that'll be a full month ahead of time before they're due on Wednesday, May the 10th. So we're all on schedule for that. I'm sure you're going to talk about the upcoming Golden Meadows land auction, but the date has been set for that auction. You was talking about teams earlier, WebEx, so
Just kind of live out that, as far as the auction, the date is set for April 13th at the time
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yes.
And that is at the Fairgrounds Dining Hall. Okay, April 13th at 6 p.m.
A lot of interest. I've had some calls in my office and a lot of interest about it, so that's good. You was talking about the WebEx, the team and everything. I use Teams in my office for all of the continuing education webinars that we have to do. And I do at least one every month, if not more so. I cannot use Teams the way it's recommended to do because you need to have the license to be able to use Teams. So I have to join anonymously just through the browser. Now, I can get on it and it's a relatively easy workaround, but it's not really the way that it's meant to be used. I talked to Ethan Snyder about it, and he said it's a licensing thing, and they want to keep that to as few licenses as possible just because of the cost. So
a little shorthanded as far as asking questions and back and forth. We don't do that very much, but there are times that I have to kind of do it after the fact rather than before the fact. So I wanted to let you know that the team's thing, even though the state wants that, that's kind of an issue too, if we don't have a license.
And I know there's different levels of licenses, and when COVID started, Microsoft offered the teams, professional or upgraded license at no charge for like 6 months or whatever, but I think that's gone away. So I think that's something we do need to investigate and encourage is that additional team's licensing.
Well, I'm assuming if it's in my office, it's also other offices are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
With the power outage that we had over the weekend, that did interfere with my security camera system in the office. Came in Monday morning and my UPS was beeping at us, and it took a little while to get that booted back up, but we're back in good shape with that. I did talk with Sheriff Dan about security issues in my office, and he recommended something way more than the clerk's office is talking about. A wall that would go in, a separate entrance for employees only, wall that goes up into the ceiling, bulletproof glass, like where the counter is, steel inside of that. And it wasn't $56,000, it was going to be many tens of thousands of dollars to do that. But then he also said, and I talked to Tony, that there's going to be this overall look at security in the whole county. And it was just makes sense to me to see what you all plan to do there before I make any changes. But there are some changes that Sheriff Dan would like to see in my office, and we'll listen to whatever you guys want to do. And then the last thing I have, next week I'll be at my Indiana Spring Treasurers Conference for the counties. I'll be down in Indianapolis. I will not be here for the meeting next week. All right, if you need anything, call Kathy.
Very good. Thank you, Ed.
Good to see you back.
All right, Bill. Sorry, we're kind of running late here a little bit this
If you
morning.
hear my stomach growling, it's your fault.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, no, trying to keep up.
Morning.
Hi, Jeff.
Thanks, Tony.
And that good one, what? I don't know if one of you want to share, if you want to share this, we didn't print any extra copies for the jail treatment. Here's an extra one of mine, so.
You're over here.
So what's the start? You're gonna get. All right, so we're here just to present to you our annual reports for the Department of Corrections funds. All three of our agencies, the hospital receives funding through the jail treatment grant, through the sheriff, probation, for, I believe, one of their probation officers, and then, of course, it funds our program. So going through some of the numbers for community corrections in the report, you can see, skip down to the program section, the number of people, we had 122 participants, adult participants for 14,931 days of electronic monitoring, 9 juveniles for 569.
Yeah.
4 community transition participants for 241 days. There were 34 participants in work release that we monitored their GPS for 3,448 days. And our out-of-school suspension program risk had 89 students last year for a total of 446 days. Down at the bottom is our cognitive education programs, moral recognition therapy, and thinking for good are in-person classes. And then the rest of those classes are all done online. So you can kind of see the number of people we had come through our classes. Just turning the page. We transferred 36 cases out of county. 318 hours of community service was completed through our office. We collected 1,245 drug screens. Of those drug screens, 18 were positive for new use, meaning their levels increased or they used after they started our program. Noteworthy accomplishments for our agency. You can see that we had a total of 487 cases. We had an 86% successful completion rate. Our recidivism rate was 10.5% last year. For those who've been on our program, we successfully completed, looking in the past 36 months. We had a 96% satisfaction rating from our participants in our education classes. 34 of those who served a minimum of 60 days were referred to Project Sunrise, which is a partnership we have with behavioral health here at Adams Memorial and the Bowen Center. We conducted 15, IRAS is our assessment tool that we used, and we did 15 reliability audits. Our overall satisfaction rating on our what's called the Working Alliance Inventory. It's an anonymous report that our clients complete at the end. There was an 86% satisfaction rate for our clients. And we completed a total of 378.75 hours of job-related training, with 74% of those hours being directly related to evidence-based practices. That pretty much the nutshell version of our report. Any questions about Community Corrections Annual Report?
I think you guys have been busy.
I'm sorry?
You've been busy.
Oh, yeah, we've been busy.
What else do you need from us?
We just need to present this to you.
Now, what else do you need from us in general to be more effective, to be more successful? Or are we failing to give you what you need in order to do what you need to do?
I don't have anything.
Cool. Didn't need that.
Can you ask the
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This topic has been discussed, it's a little bit off topic of what we're doing today. But with the knowledge that is sitting there, can you explain what the obligation is from the county regarding mental health, where people are sent, how that's decided, what facilities we're able to go to, and how that works? Because that question has come up recently about the funding that is made to Parkview, I think, for that. And there were just some questions, I think, that the commissioners might have had regarding this. This might be a good time for you to.
So here's the deal. I like to tell my successful completion rate, my recidivism rates, they're very, very high as far as successful completion. Our recidivism rate is very, very low. Many of the people that come to our program need help. I mean, they all do, right? That's what we're here for. When this program first started, our goal was to keep people out of prison because it saved money. But now our goal is to change lives. When I'm sick and I wake up and I don't feel good and I know that I need to see the doctor, I call my doctor, and that day or the next day I get in for an appointment and I get the medicine that I need, and soon, hopefully within a few days, I'm back to health and feeling great. In Adams County, if I wake up and I think I might hurt myself that day, and I call the community mental health provider, Park Center, and say, I don't feel good and I need to see a doctor, we're seeing times 6 weeks before we're getting people in. That's gonna result in some death, right? People who need help now. And so, yes, we have been complaining to DMHA and to Stan and Matt Lehman and Parkview and anybody that will listen. Because this isn't just people who are in trouble. This is your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your neighbor, your pastor at church. We all know somebody that struggles with mental health or addiction. And to say it takes 6 weeks to see someone It's ridiculous.
Ian, in your role, you interact with a lot of folks that are in your similar role. How does that compare to what you see in other areas of the state or from other providers or?
Well, unfortunately, Steve, there is a shortage when it comes to professionals in that
Yeah.
profession. And Baltimore, I'm sure can echo what I said.
Statewide that we're lacking in counseling, counselors, either licensed clinical social workers or licensed mental health counseling. Even private practices who can pick and choose who they want are still struggling to be out. I think I heard in Fort Wayne, there's a waiting list of 6 months out, so 6 weeks to us is still pretty big, but 6 months out, it's like everywhere. So trying to come up with solutions. And that's kind of like, I think the big difference is that like sometimes they'll email me saying, hey, this is what's happening. Is there any way? So we continue to work on our processes, and I'm just speaking for Adams Behavioral Health, on how to make it a little bit more accommodating. Like we do every morning, we check on cancellations and we check on high risk. My front desk staff are trained on crisis interventions. Instead of going to a hotline, they will help kind of monitor or direct them where to go. So like sometimes we'll say to the nearest emergency room, because then my case managers can then go in and intervene. And then, again, speaking for Adams Behavioral Health, not for Department 2.
I will say that it is great that we have a hospital who is picking up slack. And like he just mentioned, I can call tomorrow and say, I've got an emergency and I need this person seen, and they'll find a way. But, it's hard. I think Park Center would tell you this if they're sitting here today, and I don't think they are, but I'd say it anyways. It's hard to get them to recruit people to come down to Decatur to work when they can get, there's jobs everywhere in Fort Wayne, in a big city where they're living. And I'm not saying that no one that works in Adams County doesn't live here, but, they are recruiting, trying to get people to come down. One of the things that I wish the state would do, so, the state requires you to go into contract, I guess, with this mental health provider, and then makes it almost impossible to make improvements and potentially change, right? I mean, in everything that we do, we evaluate, is this the best, even your cell phone, is Verizon your best carrier right now? Maybe I should do it at AT&T. There might be some costs involved in changing, but you can do it, right? It's next to impossible to change your community mental health provider. And when you're looking at a big city, that might not be near as much of a problem. But when you look at small communities, we need everybody on board. We need behavioral health, we need Bowen, we need Park Center to all be a part of that community mental health center scheme, right? So that when he's struggling to have staff, Park Center might have extra staffing, but because we're married to Park Center, we're stuck with them. Almost, right, Stan?
So we are working very hard on this to evaluate and see what our options are. We're working very hard with Park Center, who is now in Park View, to try and improve our current situation. And we are also working very hard to see what our options are as far as redesignating our community mental health provider. So, it is front and center to try and correct.
And the argument that I told DMHA is that if I call Dr. Harvey's office today and say I need an appointment, he says 6 months, I can get you in. I'm calling a different doctor and going to someone else that can get me in. And we can't do that because of the way the DMHA is set up. The Community Mental Health Center is set up.
So what you're saying is that in your opinion, that whole community health center strategy is failing. How they're delivering services is failing.
Correct.
Failing us anyway.
Failing us. Failing the residents of Adams County.
Sure.
So in 2011, evidently the state saw counties that were not able to provide mental health resources. And so what they went to is the regional model, and they designated 18 regions, if that's correct. I think there's 18 regions, and they designated who that community health, who that CMHC would be within that region. And along with that, they delegated a tax levy within each county to support that CMHC. So that that is the model that they went to. And our community health provider was Park Center, who was purchased by Parkview. And so when our tax levy is relegated to our CMHC by state law. So in order to change that, that's where the challenge comes in through the commissioners, and it's up to us as commissioners to work through that process if we want to change that. So
If I'm not mistaken, I think you're giving Parkview $250,000 a year. Higher than that? Over $250,000 a year?
about 275.
You think we're not getting our money's worth?
I think you're getting your money's worth.
And
I mean, I'm finding ways, creative ways to not have to refer people to them. I would never say don't. If someone came to us and said, I'm a client of Park Center, great, I'm glad you're in there. But if somebody came to me and said, I don't have a provider, we've created Project Sunrise to get around the community mental health center because I'm not gonna wait. I don't have 6 months or 6 weeks, I'm sorry, to get people into services.
Yeah, we're giving them that money, and we got it also reached
They
out.
need that money, and I'll hire somebody to work in my office to do that job.
If that money could be allocated in some other way other than what Stan was saying, if that law would change, the question that I asked, if they pass the law that they're looking at with the health departments and giving all this extra money to all the county health departments, my question was, will that include mental health? That maybe the health department could somehow increase the mental health aspect of that, and I haven't gotten an answer on that. The law's not passed yet, they're still working on the bill, so I don't know how it'll look, but.
So you asked, sorry, you got me. You got me going.
Well, it was something that I think the discussion had to
Kind of the elephant in the room, so thank you.
you know, there were some questions on it, and I wanted to get out there that we as a county are required to pay that. The law is kind of, the Great Resignation has played a part in not finding enough people to work in all of these areas. You know, my daughter is an elementary counselor. She has 750 students. She's just her. It's just a problem all over the state. But the commissioners have some power as a commissioners group to see if the law can get changed to be able to get better care. It's the reason that I thought it was important to bring it up while you were here.
It was just, yeah, and I think I said it. So again, I've been meeting with Denny just to kind of build a collaborative because I think she's trying to improve Park Center, so I'm going to go with that. But I think with the amount of money that you guys provide, it is surprising that we don't have that many providers because with my team alone, including myself, we have 9 licensed therapists and then another intern that's interested in joining my team in May. So it's kind of like so again, we're not community mental health, but there's a way to say like, hey, these small counties do need us and they are willing to provide whatever finances needed to provide that service. So just interesting to hear what is provided.
So Barbara, from your perspective, the providers are out there.
So there's a
You can attract them.
there's a stigma behind small towns that they don't get the same cases as a bigger city. What we were trying to do is start reaching out to graduate level programs to say, hey, come to our agency, see what we have to offer. So then people become interested, but it's also an environment and what goes along with it. So yeah, there is a way. It's just kind of a lot of promoting.
It's such a multifaceted thing until you consider the services that a CMHC should be providing. I mean, there's children and family services, there's intensive outpatient services, there's inpatient services, there's counseling services where, you know, you look for consistency and there's SOS services that actually respond to an incident scene as it happens. I mean, there's a whole range of services. Also, you know, it's kind of a difficult one to crack.
So our school's into play as well. I mean,
The school is, yeah.
you know, we're supposed to be using
So,
Park Center as well, and they're not, so.
so what we're trying to work through is the whole process of maybe not changing the law at the state level, but there is an actual process where the commissioners can, change that designation as our community mental health provider. And that's what's difficult. And so we're trying to, you know, Steve said it on the meeting too with the Chuck and Wisdom, and I can't think of the other ones. Melissa, okay, Melissa Bailey.
Yeah, Melissa Bailey.
Yeah, and so you kind of saw, you know, their response to our initial complaints and saw what they were trying to do, and then our process of how trying to evaluate what's actually happening, and that's where I depend on you guys, you know, for what's actually happening on ground level, you know, and
So it sounds like, you know, they put some things into place to try and improve our center. But my feeling is that, okay, maybe now they're at a point where they can handle the caseload that they currently have. But if you would take into account the number of people they should have that we're not sending to them, the schools, community corrections, DCS, it'd be worse than it is now, you know? So they got a lot of work to do if they're gonna come back and save face in Adams County.
part of the advantage that we have with having a local hospital and with having behavioral health people such as you and your team, I mean, that's a huge advantage to us to be able to use. It's just too bad that tax levy is designated to go somewhere else. That's what's unfortunate.
With that tax levy though, I think it's best, however you're using it, you have transparency. Just like the grants that we're getting, we're telling you, hey, this is what we're using the money for, here's our metrics, and then you guys can see where that money's going. Unfortunately, from the mental health side, that sounds like something that Park Center or whoever is getting that money needs to come in and say, hey, Steve, this is what we did with your money last year. This is the investment we're trying to bring to Adams County. Like we're all sitting here, we've talked to a couple of you before, it seems like there's been a shortfall the past couple of years.
They came years ago when I was on, you remember Stan? Park Center did come, it was 60, I mean, it was a long time ago. I remember them coming and presenting the PowerPoint and all that stuff. I don't know how many years ago it was. I remember them coming. Maybe it's time they should come again.
What I had asked them in our last meeting was if we could get a report card from you on what's actually happening. And then the follow-up to that would be, Chuck coming into our meeting like today and giving a report in an open meeting from their side. So, you know, we would hear as far as what's actually happening, and then we would get a report from folks in an open meeting. So, and I asked for that twice a year. So,
Their annual meeting ends in March, and so he's going to meet with us, he thought, in April, and then twice a year from then on. But how many case managers did you say you had?
So our case manager, so we're not community mental health, so that's the difference. So our case managers, we do crises, so we have two. And they do like, so they'll go to the ER and do crises versus the case managers that I think they're used to hearing is like what Owen and Park Center has, which are like life skills coaches, they can help those. I know recently we just applied for a grant to see if we would qualify to have our own set of case managers to provide those services. But again, we're not community mental health, so we're not privy to a lot of those types of grants that are out there. But yeah, so we have do that kind of do ancillary and crises.
which, that's what a lot of your programs are geared towards. It's life skills. So,
sorry for extending the time and so forth, but I think it was an important discussion. One of the three of you were here for these guys to hear your side of it. So, sorry, Stan, I hijacked your meeting.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Jeff, did you want to go over, are you?
Done with my report.
You good? Okay. Jeff, did you?
I know you all have a copy, so I'll just try and briefly go over it. You'll notice some sections have full office. We've had some turnover. So last year we had two different probation officers in this position. Looking back, it was hard to track the metrics for it, so that's why I put whole office to give us something to reference and give you some insight. So last year for our DOC grant, there was $72,996.51 expended from that. Our total project income is our user fees that we paid for not only the DOC grant position, but other things, was $105,041.07. The total amount of restitution that we collected that was paid into restitution for the courts was $58,009.03. And then I kind of break it off to a little bit more of our supervision things. Some incentives, so if somebody's doing well, it may not be a pat on the back, but it's kind of a verbal affirmation. Or sometimes we have like a fishbowl and they may get like a movie ticket to go out and take their kid to a movie. Gas cards, things like that. $10 gift certificate, go to Taco Bell, something to kind of give them some incentives when they're trying to scrap their lives back together. I don't know if we're the best at documenting because we just got a new system a year or two ago, so I see that growing into the next year, that better documentation of it. Sanctions, on the reverse side, if there's a technical violation, there's certain sanctions that the courts have allowed us to implement. So if they're late for an appointment or they miss an appointment, we may see them more often. We missed a drug test, we verify they're at work or whatever it's being. Have them fill out an essay to see how they can be more responsible. So we can have different measures like that. Otherwise, we have to have a formal filing with the court, maybe end up over in Ian's office. Interventions kind of goes back to the life skills like we were talking about. They may be doing well, they're not breaking the law, but all of a sudden they got kicked out of their apartment or they lost their job. So they need some kind of intervention that hopefully we can assist them or refer them. And that's where the connections with local mental health or any type of local services is big for our office, so we can refer out, connect them. So there's only so far we can get everybody. As for the drug tests, our whole office administered 3,775 drugs tests last year. Out of those, 567 were positive. I don't have a breakdown of what was maybe positive for medications or not, but I just want to kind of talk about how, yeah, we're throwing a lot of drug tests at people, but also you want to see them testing positive at a low percentage. So that way that investment showing that, hey, they know they're getting drug tested and they're going to be hopefully drug free. I just spoke with a detective the other day. He was saying that he's noticed overdose in our county is less than a neighboring county. Not to throw any other county under the bus, but I think with our drug testing and our supervision, it's hopefully having a good impact. Day reporting, that would be the probation officer in that position. The grant funded $63,913.50 of the salary and for that one-time full staff. And that position will be able to serve 97 clients. Our part-time field officer, we have a part-time field officer that goes out and helps us do checks, and that cost us $3,763.93 last year. That field officer was able to go out and make contact or assist us in doing checks in the community for 134 different clients. So that was very helpful. Quick caseload summary. So our probation officer, on average, last year had 30 on the active caseload. Of those that were moderate risk, reoffend was 18, and then 12 were high risk to reoffend. Lowest caseload size in the transition last year was 18, and then the highest caseload size was 45. Noteworthy accomplishments, since we had a new probation officer in the position, she was able to get certified, which is great. Completed orientation, completed education evidence-based practices, certified in effective communication motivational strategies, certified in adult IRAS. That's the state assessment we have to do whenever we do supervision to figure out what the person's risk and needs are, and it helps us kind of organize what supervision may look like. Also, the probation officer is certified in carry guides and bits. That's another type of tool we can use to help with interventions with their lives or their supervision. Maintain the incentive program for clients. She finalized a field visit schedule and ensured field visits are conducted routinely. Maintain the Grace Probation Program standards. If you remember, there used to be drug court, and then Judge Conrad had that modified into probation intensive supervision program called Grace Probation. And lastly, continue to utilize the in-house sanction matrix of Superior Court, going back to talking about sanctions earlier. Other than that, that's all I have. Is there any questions you guys have on the report?
Is that working out as far as, having Rhonda over, do the assessments over to Joanna, and as far as the evaluations over there for no cash bail and stuff?
I think the program's working. It's a little bit separate than this. Personally, I think we could use more help in that. Some of that is we started out just saying, hey, here's our target population for Superior Court, but now we're seeing more of a need, and obviously over time, there's more needs to monitor people. Also, Circuit Court every now and then needs us to do assessments. I'm not sure how much you guys are looking at the legislation that's coming through, but the state's looking to possibly amend the Constitution and bail. So that may also add more requirements to those assessments and how bail may look in the future. So forward thinking a little bit, a part-time position may or may not, be able to get all that
Might
done.
have to turn into a full-time.
Yeah, so that's a whole different subject. I don't want to get you guys into the afternoon,
Right.
so. But, yeah.
Well, and I don't know how that's gonna affect you guys if Judge Conrad goes ahead and moves forward with his mental health court. There's another subject too, I'm sure, to discuss, but.
Yeah, and Ian knows more about the mental health court initiative than I do at this point, so I don't want to step on his toes.
Yeah.
That's a whole other meeting.
Okay, all right, well, I didn't want to bring that up as far as getting us off track here. So. Okay.
Okay, so mine's a little bit shorter than theirs. So overall, in the year, we served 59 inmates. Average caseload was 15. Size for moderate risk is 1. High risk is 14. Lowest caseload size is 6. Again, highest caseload overall was 19. Consistent and frequent treatment provided to participants, even to those who are voluntarily continued the program despite the eligibility of a time sentence reduction. Originally people would just want the time cut. Now people are wanting to have the treatment, not so much the time cut, especially because they're well aware that if they already had the time cut, the next time around, they won't get it again.
Oh.
So now they're just wanting to continue services. There was a 62% completion rate for offenders completing minimum treatment, which is 12 sessions before release. After completing the program, majority of the participants requested to stay in the program for continuous life improvement satisfactions to strengthen confidence in the recovery journey, increase skill and awareness level, and understand the overarching impact of their addiction and long-term wellness. And again, jail staff continue to be supportive of our program, seeking out our services in order to help inmates that are struggling, and they're encouraging inmates to refer themselves. This is kind of our general layout. Any questions? A lot of the jail treatment, we built them to provide counselors to go to them, so that's.
I think that says a lot that they want to complete the program even if they didn't have to.
Yeah.
So.
What is your name again? I can't remember.
Valdemar Silva. B-A-L-D-E-M-A-R. Just say it really fast. I always tell people.
B-A-L-D-E-M-A-R.
E-M-A-R.
The first name is what again?
That is my first name. Silva is my last name.
Oh, it's on there.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it. Thank you. Gotta get that right for the minutes.
Okay, yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
So real quick before we go, I just want to update you on a major project that we are rolling with the community corrections beginning in January. So back in late September, Jim Bowie let us know that the clerk's office was no longer going to take community corrections clients' payments at the clerk's office effective January 1st. So the last quarter of 2022, I mad rush putting policies and procedures together, getting programs put in place in our computer system to be able to accept payments at community corrections, making sure that we're in compliance with State Board of Accounts, DOC, and all that good stuff. And starting in January, then we were able to start collecting both cash, money order, and credit card payments out at community corrections. We also partnered with a company called Allpaid that takes our credit card payments and processes them through. I think we're bringing in probably between $5,000, $7,500 a week, between credit cards and cash. Megan Wilson, who is our administrative assistant, has taken the brunt of the collection side of things, as she sits at the front window and collects the majority of the money that comes through. Jeremy Weather and I both, mainly Jeremy, me as a backup, have been taking care of the deposits and making sure everything in the tills close every day and everything's balanced. Overall, our clients are happy about it. They're glad that they can come out to community corrections. Our case managers are happy because if somebody's behind on their fees, why don't you go to Megan and make a payment? It's done right then and there. I would say we're probably spending anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes a day out of our time now on making sure that, everything is done correctly and bringing the deposit in here to the treasurer's office and to the auditor. I can't tell you off the top of my head how much time Megan is spending on the collection process, but, it's definitely keeping her busy. But staff have done well absorbing without complaining, at least not to me. I don't know if they complain to Shannon. Not here anymore, but I also want to give a thank you publicly to the treasurer's office, to Ed and to Kathy and to Kim, as well as the auditor's office, Tony and Bree, for welcoming us with open arms and helping us through this process as well. They're great to work with. So
We don't say anything until you leave.
I'm sure. So that's all.
All right. Well, we got a motion and stuff to enter all of this into the record.
Second.
That answers my question. Right. Well, I can't tell you, but I think, what you guys do is the backbone of rehabilitation in our judicial system. I think that's a strong component. Like I've always said, it's a three-legged stool. You've got safety for the community, and you've got punishment, but then you've also got rehabilitation. And you guys are the backbone of that part of the stool. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Mark? You've been patiently waiting for us.
30-minute dissertation on why we should start this subdivision along.
No, we're not taking questions from the audience.
600 north, 3-lot subdivision, road frontage, road frontage, road frontage, road frontage. Over
So,
37 acres plus 31, 38. Joe Coker, he tried to do a major, that didn't work out so well. He decided to go with a minor subdivision. That went through the process and through the design committee, everything's fine, approved. It's now up to you guys.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion carries. I'm at 30 seconds, not 30.
It's counting. You help us make up time, Mark.
Sorry.
Oh. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All good.
Thanks, Mark.
We're not back on schedule, but we're 10 minutes closer.
What do we have to do?
Is that it? We got Shelley and we got county attorney. But they're already handling their business out there, so.
We'll figure it out.
okay,
We'll just have to call them. See.
so call state.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we have to listen to Sherry.
No, I apologize. I wouldn't be here. Actually, I'd be in bed.
This one should be easy, so.
Yeah, it should be.
Uh,
So in our county election board meeting on February 16th, we went ahead and amended our vote center plan. As you know, we are going to have a 23 primary municipal election. So we voted on to have only 2 vote centers here in Decatur, the KFC Hall and the Bridge. So basically, I'm just here to present to the commissioners, that's what we're doing.
Good.
Motion approved?
All right.
All right, motion carries.
Okay.
I forget, where was our other ones? Did we have other ones before?
For,
Other road centers?
yeah, and what I'll do is, for the general, we'll do another vote center amendment to
Gotcha,
include, Pride Monroe and Byrne.
I see.
So we'll have, because we'll have a general election with their candidates and that, so.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
And I'll get with you. I've given that information to Clayton, so he's got it too. We'll try to figure out what they want us to do on that.
So just wait to hear from you back.
Yeah, I think we'll call down and, because I know back at the time, we submitted all that stuff. That was the plan that we came up with, so I don't know.
We should tell the commissioners yet about it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. The Bridge Church in Kansas City?
Yes, yes.
We are on a need to know basis.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to hear this one. Yeah,
That just has to do with the the
yeah.
election precincts, so, yeah, we're gonna keep looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's, all we've got the three, we've got three interlocal agreements, that we're looking at, so, the one is obviously for that Bridge 19 for Wells, then also, looking at one for, possible highway, and then, also the one for City of Decatur and transportation plan for the garage up there, so.
Okay.
I think we're having a meeting, tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? We have a meeting tomorrow?
For, judicial?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at 4.
4:00.
Okay. Work session.
Mark, do you still owe us an interlocal agreement for the, dog, pound?
For Monroe?
For Monroe. We do Monroe, yeah.
We have a check, but we don't have the agreement.
Yeah, I've got it. Just gotta have them sign it. I think they paid.
They did.
Yeah, we got the money, we can't do it until we get the agreement.
But yeah, I've got one. I gotta send down for their signature.
And I'll be at their, I'm planning to go to their meeting Thursday night. If you get it to me, I'll take it to them.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll just email it to you. Let me put it on my list, yeah. Yeah, that's for our animals. All the other ones were sent out to Dave.
Control interlocal, I guess is a better way to put that, not dog catcher interlocal one. Since the big issue seems to be cats lately.
And I met with Bill Remoff a week or two ago. I met with Bill Remoff about that change and how we're doing that parcel for auction. So he's getting that for us. I also met with Josh Zuckerberg and talked to him about it. And then I just emailed both Josh and Trevor today so that we can make sure they get what they need for purposes of advertising, since the auction's going to be April 13th. So they'll have maps that they'll have for advertising when they send out flyers. So getting that around. That's about it.
All right.
On this Milo thing, did you figure out anything on that?
I got it. I communicated with Pat Hess and we're gonna have a conversation this week about that, yes.
Okay. Because he's gonna be getting back all of them, I know his.
Yep. Yeah, no, I sent it up to Pat. Actually, I think I might even have a voicemail from Pat right now because we're supposed to talk to him this afternoon.
Steve, anything else?
Nothing.
Anything from the general public? We have, 3 counties represented here, so, in Wells County, Jay County, and Adams County. So. All right. Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.